from the government shutting its doors, and House Republicans stand as firm as ever, refusing to sign any compromise that doesn't delay the Affordable Care Act. This is the majority of Americans think Congress should accept Obamacare as the law of the land. I'm joined right now by Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn, one of the House Republicans leading the charge to defund Obamacare. Representative Blackburn, I know you just got out of a closed-door meeting with other House Republicans. Tell us, what are people saying? What is being discussed right now? Will there be any changes to what you're putting forward?
Yeah, I can't say what is being discussed. We're still in a family meeting, if you will, and we'll continue to work through that. We do understand that after we went into our meeting that the Senate decided to table our amendments. That's something that is disappointing. We think that our compromise that we offered for a one-year delay of Obamacare was reasonable. The president had already 19 times, he and his administration have made delays. There have been 7 repeal components, and we think that the delay is a wise.
Well, what's the sentiment that you're hearing and you're feeling right now amongst House Republicans? Did they want to make changes?
Well, yes. Here's some of the sentiment. You know, number one, we're the body committed to keeping the government open. We're the ones that stayed here and worked all weekend. And we have sent things to the Senate. Bear in mind, they haven't sent anything back to us. They just say, well, a clean CR. Well, that's not good enough. And we continue to say, sit down, work with us. We've got problems with medical devices. So the sentiment is, number one, keep the government open. Number two, it's a fairness issue. Is it really fair for the employer mandate to be delayed, but the individual mandate not to be delayed? Is it fair that you're going to tax defibrillators and pacemakers and insulin pumps an extra percentage? Is that really fair? Is it fair to put another tax on insurance? Is it fair? Because all of this hits hard-working, tax-paying individuals.
Sure.
And, you know, you've got to go back and look at what Obamacare was supposed to be. It was supposed to be an access to health care for the roughly 40 million Americans that didn't have access to health care, a health insurance product.
No, I mean, this is the bottom line, and this is the sticking point for you. But you mentioned something very interesting, that in this closed-door meeting with other Republicans, part of the sentiment was, we want to keep the government open.
Absolutely. That's been our goal from the beginning.
So how do you do that? Is there any kind of measure that you can put forward between now and midnight tonight that at least keeps things running 100%?
And that, I guess, would be the $3.5 trillion question, since that's what the federal budget is every year. Because our goal from day one has been, number one, how do we keep the government open and running and deal with all these additional pressures that the advent of Obamacare is having on the federal budget? Because the program was to be, see, it's like when you've got a problem. Do you let it fester or do you nip it in the bud? You nip it in the bud. And what we've got is Obamacare started out to be an $863 billion program. You know, the note on it now is $2.6 trillion for the same window of time. So the spending on it is out of control. It's got $819.3 billion of taxes. So you've got to keep the government open and deal with the fairness issues.
At the same time, and this is the real challenge.
Yes, so it is. And we wish the Senate would come work with us on it. We know it's a problem. They know it's a problem.
Given where we are now, they sent it back. They're not going to work with you on it. They made, you know, Senator Reid said this is a non-starter if you're going to defund Obamacare.
It's very immature of Senator Reid.
So in terms of what happens now, I mean, what are the chances that we do see a shutdown tonight?
We pulled the defund back and said, okay, let's go with delay. And then we're working to craft something else to send back over there. Is it really fair for Harry Reid to say,
you are working to craft something else right now?
I am not going to Yeah, you know, they're working, they're listening to the members right now, they're having a family meeting, but is it fair for Harry Reid to say, I'm not going to work with the House Republicans at all, that I am going to just keep my sandbox just like I want it, and if they want to play with me, they can only play within the sandbox. I will not change. That is like a disobedient, intransigent child. So we want him to work with us, and he won't.
I know that you're saying that they're putting things together, that they're going to come up with something that they can present back to the Senate before midnight tonight?
Absolutely.
What do you think the chances are that the Senate will go for it? In other words, what is the chance that we see a government shutdown at midnight?
My hope is that we don't, and I think it would be very unfortunate if the Senate decides they're not going to work and they're going to shut the government down.
I'm going to stop you right there because we do want to go to House Republicans right now. We have Eric Cantor there speaking on the floor. Let's listen in.
Laws equally applied. It's very short and simple today. We will pass a bill that funds government. So the question will rest with Harry Reid. Just two questions. Will he treat individual Americans the same as he wants to treat big business? And secondly, does he want special treatment? And we say no. You have to live within the law.
Each of the 232 Republicans in the House were elected by the people from their districts. We listen to the people that we represent, and we have a responsibility to act on their behalf. And we continue to hear the stories of the impact of this law on individuals, on families. And the action that we're taking in the House is one that reflects the concerns that we continue to hear back home. And yes, this president, he's issued all kinds of waivers. He's issued the delay of the employer mandate. He's come up with a ruling for members of Congress and their staff. And what we're going to do is we're going to stand and say, for individuals, this mandate should be repealed or delayed, and for members of Congress and their staff, it should also be delayed. It's what's good for America.
Do you have the vote?
Mr. Speaker, some of your own Republicans say they're not going to vote for this because it is a recipe for a shutdown. Do you think you have the votes?
Well, I'll let McCarthy talk about votes. We're confident that this issue will pass. This is a matter of funding the government and providing fairness to the American people. Why wouldn't members of Congress vote for it?
Mr. Speaker, Senator Reid has shown that he can easily dispense with these amendments pretty easily with his votes. Is a clean CR off the table? Is that not going to happen?
That's not going to happen.
Mr. Speaker, it's not going to happen when? It's not going to happen tonight before midnight, or it's not going to happen ever?
The House will act this evening, and we'll send it over to the United States Senate.
Speaker, thanks.
Okay, you were just listening to House Republicans there giving some statements. We did hear from Speaker Boehner, who said the House will act tonight and send it back over to the Senate. That's exactly what Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn just told us, that you didn't expect that something would be sent back over to the Senate tonight. Can you give us any sense or any preview of what might be in that?
Yes, and the conference chair just said the delay of the individual mandate, and that is something that we were discussing in the meeting. That is the proper step. Also, removing the subsidy for members of Congress, and including in the Obamacare pool the administration and members of their staff, the Senate, everybody, everybody in. I think that that's the wise thing to do. You know, I have found it so interesting, and some of my constituents have found it so interesting. Obamacare is the president's signature legislation, but yet the very first waiver, there have been about 1,200 waivers given to Obamacare. The very first waiver that was given was done by the administration and the Senate staff. When they wrote this, they exempted out the president, the vice president, themselves, the leadership. They all exempted themselves out of Obamacare, basically saying, okay, all America, it's good for you, but it's not good enough for us.
It sounds like there's going to be a lot of back and forth in the coming days. We want to thank you, Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn, for being here with us again on Street Smart. Republican from Tennessee. Adam, over to you.